This is a video for my Uncle Eric. It's been a week since we said our final goodbyes to Tio Eric. I had spent time thinking about what I wanted to say at the funeral. As I started to speak, I became emotional and lost my train of thought. I believe I said most of what I wanted to say, what was in my heart, but it was an important lesson for me that I need to write things down, that I should have taken the time to write it down. I said when I think of Theo, he was a giver. He was the kind of person to give you the shirt off his back. He gave his time, his energy, and his love. He was smiling most of the time. The last visit that we had was difficult for me. Seeing Theo in his bed, it hurt. But I knew deep down that if the roles were reversed, that he would have been there for me, even through the pain. So I went and I got to spend some time with him. So I'm thankful that I did that, even though it was difficult emotionally for me. After we left the cemetery and back at the grandparents' house, I found a book. So the book is called Paper Money, and I don't enjoy reading. However, I have been doing my best to try and take in more and do things that are slightly uncomfortable or boring, so that way I can improve myself to just be a better person and be more well-rounded. And this was something that I had been looking for, and I happened to find it. I had been there countless times and never noticed this book before, but I noticed it that day. And when I noticed it, I grabbed it and I looked inside, and I had this feeling that Theo wanted me to have that book. So you guys can believe whatever you want. That's what I plan on doing. I believe that he left me that book because he wanted me to read it. And maybe there's some answers in that book that I needed. Or maybe it's just the first step to finding the next book. And I found that I actually started to enjoy reading it. It was odd for me, especially at first. It was a bit boring, but I realized that I needed to get through this. I needed to just continue forward. And then the story started to get really interesting. And so I got this book roughly about a week ago, and we started when we came back. It's been, I would say, about a week, and I am about 100 pages into the book, which is a little abnormal for me, but what I decided to do was just give it a chapter a day. The other day I ended up reading for 30 minutes, which was more than the chapter. And I gotta say, I'm kind of excited about it. So at the funeral, they give you a card there, and typically on the front there'll be a religious symbol or something. But in this case, the picture that you see at the before you click this video is actually a picture of my Uncle Eric, and I decided to use that as a bookmark. And it really helps me because when I grab the book and I go to read, I think about him. I think about him first. And I kind of say, maybe something in my head, and I put the bookmark aside, and then I start to read. I asked Theo to guide me, right? I feel like he left me this book, and I asked him to guide me so that way I can continue on this journey of learning. It's important for me and the family. Theo, I want you to know, and I know you know, that I love you. death is never easy. Unfortunately, I've made a few videos about death already, and every time it's difficult. I spent time with his father. We call him Tata, so that's Grandpa. And he was really heartbroken. But he said some interesting things. He said that his wife, Grandma, great grandma, was the strongest person that he knew. And he was right. She was taking care of Theo to the very end, and she would have continued on a lack of sleep, and I honestly don't know how she did it. So, I love you guys. You guys need to spend time with family. It's important. And hey, pick up a book. You might learn something. All right, guys, I hope you have a great week.